What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Dominant Pop DC Sports Talk Plus podcast. I wish I could tell you guys it was different this week, but we're here again. Another loss. Dallas Cowboys put it to us. Cooper Rush on his way to the Hall of Fame. We're here to talk about all that and more. Let's get right into it. Whatever you feel it, Pop. Whatever it comes over you.
I'm ready.
Oh, man. What's going on, Pop? How you doing?
Rough one. Another rough one.
Just a total.
Should we break down the Wiz's games in Japan?
Yeah,
I think it's Wiz season. We should just switch over now.
Might be worth it. We're considering relocation to Buffalo at this point. Heard the winters are better up there, so we're thinking about making the move. But
yeah.
Oh my god, dude. It is so sad how apathetic I've become so quickly into the season. And it's so hard with this coaching staff, with this roster, with the decisions that we've made. It is so hard to see a way out of this thing. Maybe we'll talk about how there is or if there is a way out of this thing. But we can just start with the game. At no point did it feel like we had control or were even really in it, to be honest with you. We were kind of like, it was a 7-15 going into the half. And I guess that's probably when it felt the best, was when we scored that touchdown, that Dotson touchdown. I felt like, okay, maybe we can get something going here. And I think
we had the 7-6 lead at that point. Yep.
Yeah, that felt good. But even after scoring that touchdown, it kind of just felt like there wasn't. It was like, okay, we scored. Maybe we have a chance to do something here. And then what happens? The defense goes soft, and the rest is history at that point. So, Pop, what are some of your takeaways, some concerns? How are you feeling? Is some stuff that you like, some stuff you didn't like? Give me the breakdown.
I agree. I think you took the words out of my mouth in terms of never was a point, even when we were leading, that I really felt good. It was sort of like, I feel good that we're winning the game, and I guess the defense was playing well at that point, but it just, the offense could never get in a real rhythm. It's kind of mystifying that the things that we were doing well, which was running the ball, all three running backs were running the ball well.
Just completely abandoned.
27 runs and 42 passes in the game. And don't tell me that we were coming from behind. It was a one-score game or less for, almost 3 quarters, right? So it just, we're trying to be who we're not. Carson Wentz is obviously not playing well and not comfortable. He is rushing passes. You could see that he's just not confident at all in the protection. And so keep running the ball. Just run the ball. Run the ball.
What did Indy do last
year?
Play
action.
What did Indianapolis do last year when they were dealing with Carson Wentz? They just fed the ball to Jonathan Taylor, let him be a bell cow. And of course, they set me up to draft him number 1 all in my fantasy, and he kind of sucks this year, so that's been great. But it's we should be running the ball. We should be controlling the clock. This is the second week in a row now, or the third week really, that we go over our keys to the game and we come out and, I wish they would watch the Dom and Pop DC Sports Talk Plus podcast over there in the front office, because we tell them what they need to do. They don't do it. Of course, they're not listening to us, but it is the one thing that is not lost on me emotionally at this point, because it gets to a point where you have to protect your own mental health, right? I can't keep getting upset. But the one thing that is still just not lost on me is the amazement, the level of complacency and incompetence. The combination of complacency and incompetence that this coaching staff, from Ron Rivera down, displays on a week to week basis is incredible. It is I've genuinely never seen anything like it in terms of the way this football team is ran. You know, I mean, Gruden Gruden lost his franchise quarterback halfway through his tenure here and had a horrible roster, and he had to deal with a yacht pick made for Dwayne Haskins, who had no business being picked to our team, and he had to try and recover that situation. Rivera has had complete control of everything that's going on, and we have so far been worse. You know, Jay Gruden had winning record 2 of his 3 first seasons here. Rivera has yet to put together a winning effort, and the team looks terrible. It just looks terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're, let's stick into this game for a minute. You know, I mean, we can, and if that's where you want to go, that's fine, son. But we could devolve this into yacht picks and this and that. The bottom line is, I'm usually a silver lining guy. I can't find a silver lining. It's
That's
what I
why I'm
said.
talking like
It's what
this.
I said before this game. You know, what would lead us to believe they're going to play better? They haven't done it yet. They haven't shown it yet. So at this point, until they show it, until they show they can sustain drives, until they show that, come on, the bold move is St. Juice played a lot better than William Jackson. Why you get William Jackson back in there? Why is he covering everybody? Why is Jamin Davis covering CeeDee Lamb on back-to-back plays?
How does Cole
I mean,
Holcomb
the
end
guy
up
did
on
his
Michael
best he
Gallup?
could, but how does he end up being on that man? I don't coaching at this point, like, I'm just a fan. I don't get zone defense. I don't understand it. I was a soccer player. I played defense. Yes, you can be in a zone in terms of what position you play, but at some point you got to mark a man. And why their best receiver would ever in the world be covered by a linebacker. Granted, our fastest linebacker by a linebacker. And then somebody's going to come and say, oh, James Davis got burned. Are you kidding me? What linebacker in the league can cover CeeDee Lamb? It's how could we be that, poorly positioned? But I mean, again, without like spinning out of control and having to devolve that, there are really two moments in this game to me that says it all. And one of them is probably going to be controversial, but one is, we drive the ball, we get the ball down to their 17-yard line, I believe, right? And the one thing that I'm thinking, and at that point in the game, it's 15-7. So theoretically, it's a one-score game. And I'm thinking to myself, don't go backwards. Why? Because you're going to do something stupid. You're going to drop him back to pass. We got to 17-yard line because of a great Jonathan Williams run. We're carving them up, right? First down, 2 yards, right? Then 2nd and 8. Drop back to pass, incomplete. Then we jump off sides. Then we drop back and we lose 17 yards on a sack, which Wentz never. Well, it was actually the grounding call, intentional grounding, but Wentz never had a chance because the guy just went unblocked. How that happens, I have no idea. Why not just keep running the ball on 2nd and 8? Why not just do what you've been doing great for the whole game, or at least competently? Because if you're going to give credit, two things was running the ball and stopping the run. Those are two things that were keys to our game that we did really well, but we got away from it. It doesn't make sense. And then the other one, the other moment of the game is it's 4th and 15. And instead of just kicking the field goal, and I know it's 22-10, and you could say with 7-8 minutes left in the game, you got it. No, kick the freaking field goal. The chances of us converting a 4th and 15 at that point, the way that game was going, and the way that we were either protecting Wentz or the way Wentz was playing was impossible. Put the 3 points on the board. That's just a coach that is just out of touch with what's going on. right? Kick the field goal. Just kick it. Because you know what? We got the ball right back. And now all of a sudden you're down 9 points. Not that we were going to win that game anyway, but it's just two moments to me that say, yeah, at that moment it's like you're like Dallas was the better team. They're the better team. They are. It hurts to say that they are.
Not
Talent
close.
wise, talent wise, they're the better team, right? But still, you're just not coaching the team the right way.
Yep.
And someone could say, well, why would you, kicking a field goal in that moment to give up play? You're not going to convert 4th and 15. Get the 3 points. Put your defense back in a position to try to stop them again. Get the ball back. There's still plenty of time at that point, and you're at least 3 points closer. It's just, anyway.
I mean, just for some perspective here, so there's two things I want to touch on. But first, about the 4th and 15 thing, I totally agree. 4th and 15 is such a low percentage of execution that there are rules being proposed to replace the onside kick with a 4th and 15 play. That's how low of a percentage of execution that is. And why you go for that, again, it's just stupid. It's just bad
It's
coaching.
dumb.
And it has
Because
to.
it's like it's not being aware of the moment. That's
Yep.
it.
What is,
It's not looking at what your team is doing. It's not looking at what your team has been doing the entire game and understanding that, yes, I know I need 2 scores, but this is my best option right now. It's my best option right now is just to kick this field goal.
and you talk about good coaching, right? Let's look across the league at some really good coaches. Sean McDermott, great coach. What does he do offensively? He moves Stephon Diggs. He's out of the slot. He's playing on the left side. He's playing on the right side. He's playing every position because that offense has to move through Stephon Diggs because they don't kid themselves like we do and say that we have 5 great wide receivers. They say we have Stephon Diggs and then we have a bunch of guys and we have a really good quarterback. So let's make sure we get the ball to Diggs. He feeds them. He's putting his
They
players.
have a really good quarterback.
They have a really good quarterback. He's feeding his players opportunities where they have high chances of success. And we consistently, offensively and defensively, ignore that. We do what the coaches want to do, regardless of the players, and then the coaches come back and get into the press conferences and talk about players have to execute better. No, it's on you at this point. It is 100% on you because it's
It's a
like you said,
combination.
there's no.
It's a combination as a coach. We can sit here and say you've got to run the ball, but you've got to run the ball at this point. And I don't know. You could have the argument: is it the O line? Is it Wentz? But better quarterbacks could deal with the pressure, could escape the pressure a little more, and could make things happen. I
And
think they're just really handicapped by the way Wentz is playing.
And the
Right?
offensive
There's
line sucks. The O line is bad. This is like a complete. We are looking at like the regression that we saw from the defensive line from the end of 2020 into 2021. We're now watching that happen on the offensive line. And that is so concerning to me because we
right.
we made certain personnel decisions, i.e., we let go of Sheriff and we let go of Eric Flowers. So we basically cleared the starting interior of our offensive line. And we did that because we said, hey, we dealt with a lot of injuries last year. We had a lot of backups come in and play really well. So we have faith in Matsko, the offensive line coach, that he can make anybody play good. So we went and we got some veterans on the cheap so that we could afford to pay Carson Wentz $28 million. And basically, we give him no shot. We did not put him in a position to succeed with the moves that we made on the offensive line. So now the offensive line is bad. It's bad. It's not mediocre. It's not, oh, it looks shaky in some spots. Offensive line is bad. And that, to me, is the most concerning part about this because Carson Wentz behind a good offensive line is going to be volatile. Carson Wentz behind a bad offensive line, now we're taking away his ceiling. Ugh, that is really
Yeah,
worrisome
it
to me.
definitely looks like he's
That's
rattled for
scary.
sure. Yeah.
And, I mean, at this point, you look down the schedule and it's hard to.
Schedule doesn't matter. Schedule doesn't matter. we can't beat any team in the league the
Well,
way we're playing.
that's what I was just about to say. It's hard to find a
It
lot of
doesn't matter.
games that you can look at. I mean, I'm looking at the schedule right now. I can't look at a single game right now and say that's a win,
But
and
here's the
that's a
thing: the
huge problem.
bottom line is, I think you could argue there is no more winnable game than today's game.
Yeah,
Come on, Cooper Rush is not good. He threw up two critical, crucial interceptions, and we bailed him out of it. With penalties, and I'll get into penalties in a minute because it's ridiculous that the refs see every detailed thing we do wrong. On both those interceptions, they were calls that you could see. They weren't like blatant fouls. They were fouls, right?
yeah,
You look at the replay, you say, okay, by the letter of the law, did he bump them or did he grab? But they were plays that you see let go all the time.
yeah.
And there were many times in Montez Sweat, this wasn't the difference in the game. The refs weren't the difference in the game. They weren't. Okay. But it is incredibly frustrating to watch a game that is so called, so one sided
Yeah,
by the refs. So obviously called one sided.
but there.
I have to believe, I'm not going to do it, but if somebody really went and watched the all 22, they couldn't find just as many fouls. I mean, Montez Sweat was getting held, you know, on the regular, obvious holds where like he's the
Arms across
he's
them like this,
the
and
only thing between him and the quarterback was somebody grabbing his shoulder pad, and they don't see it and call it. Like it, it's outrageous how bad the refereeing was in this game. It's outrageous.
but you know what? I mean, there were also a lot of false starts. Carson Wentz is a walking intentional grounding, and that's basically just a product of having a lack of situational awareness and having a bad offensive line. There's a lot of one of those intentional grounding calls I thought was spotty, the one where Logan Thomas was in the area. I don't think you call that. I'm biased, of course, but I think I've heard this saying before. I actually heard it on Will Compton's podcast, the Bussin' with the Boys podcast. They talk about you put the refs in position to decide the game. And ultimately, when you play bad enough, there's going to be penalties, and you're going to look at it and go, "Oh, the refs made 77 yards worth of penalties, 107 yards worth of penalties, whatever it was. We played like crap." So yeah, we can sit back and look and say the refs, and I'm glad you said it too. It doesn't come down to the refereeing. We can say there were some tough calls in some critical moments, but the bottom line is, I always say it: if we lose by that margin, that was on us. There was too much going on. And, even if there's a last minute call that goes the wrong way, you had the whole game to not be in that position, right? So the refereeing thing, ultimately at the end of the day, Dallas is the most penalized team in the NFL. And we had 12 penalties through the first two games. And we completely flipped that script today. And a lot of that was the fault of William Jackson just being bad. A lot of that was the fault of the offensive line being out of
His
sync.
pass interference calls were legit. They were just stupid
And they
plays.
were huge. They're
But
giving up 25,
the
30
two
yards at a
interceptions
time.
they took away from us were marginal calls at
It was
best.
unfortunate. Those
They
were
were
unfortunate.
marginal calls at best. They were cars that are let go all the time, and those were, I think we would have lost a close game instead of losing 20-15. Like I'm not 25-10. Sorry,
Yeah.
up. But and again, I'm not at all making an excuse saying that was a difference in the game. I don't think anyone would say that.
Yeah.
But it's just both teams can be penalized. I mean, there were. What about the one play down the field that was an obvious pass interference against Terry on that?
Yeah.
Guy put his hands on him. I mean, do you think there's any planet that if you reverse the jerseys on that play, that doesn't get called against us?
Not from the way they were calling it.
Right? So it's like
It's fair.
it's like you're paying against 12 or 13 men instead of 11. And we can't afford that kind of disadvantage, right?
Hey,
So anyway, just not to belabor that point,
you know,
it is what it is at this point. I'm not even now that super motivated to keep repeating the same thing. I mean, we're just gonna there's nothing that leads me to believe that we can win any game right now.
Yep.
I mean, there's no, I was there a week ago. I said it. Like I said in the pregame pod, like, what would lead you to believe we can win? They haven't shown it. Of course, you hold out hope that 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 you might, but
Yep.
yeah,
I mean, we have another podcast coming to you guys later this week to preview the game against Tennessee. I think we could talk about more like seasonal outlook then. Obviously, right now, let's let the dust settle a little bit, think a little bit more. But spoiler alert, I think it's looking pretty bleak as of right now. So, just to wrap up our coverage for today, I say we get into the awards. Hard to give out awards like this, so we're definitely not going to fill all of them out. But Pop, if you want to go ahead and give the Sauce Award out to the best player today, go for it.
yeah. I mean, we just to be full disclosure, we talked about bypassing awards,
Yeah,
but I think Jahan Dotson had a big catch that was an underthrown ball that led to that drive that I just talked about, that we had an opportunity at 15-7 to do something, and we did make it 15-10. Plus, he had a touchdown catch, his fifth of the year. Unfortunately, he did pick up an injury. Hopefully, it doesn't keep him out too long. But I think Dotson should get the Sauce Award.
yep.
Fifth TD catch by a rookie in 4 games is pretty impressive.
He's a stud. I really like Dotson. I really like his usage in the red zone. I really don't like his usage on the other 80 yards of the field. I think
Is it 5 or 4? I think it's actually 4 in 4 games.
I
Because
don't.
he had one game with 2, 1-1. Anyway, it's either
Yeah,
4 or
I don't know
5.
off the top of my
Yeah,
head. I should know.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't understand why we don't use him in the other 80 yards of the field. But we're starting to see a little bit more of that. So sauce award to him. Helmet sticker to John Allen. Kind of got to see John Allen be John Allen today, so that was good. Led the team in tackles. Had a sack, 1 sack, 2 sacks,
One
one
sack.
sack. So
He had that really
something.
nice play in the end zone too, where he batted the ball up in the air,
Yeah,
and if it was a shame because it landed right next to him, and then that led to the punt that was a shank. We
yeah,
got the ball back on like the 30-yard line, so that was a great play.
yeah.
I think,
He's a great player. Big fan of his.
yeah,
So helmet sticker for John Allen. Otherwise, not much to talk about. I mean, I saw Deron Payne in the
yeah.
backfield a couple times. I saw Sweat getting held like crazy, but ultimately, there's just not a lot of bright spots. Kickouts of the game. I told Pop before we started this episode that I think the kickouts should be when we kick the ball off at the beginning of the game, and that should extend through the final whistle because that whole game was a kickouts. But Pop, you have a specific moment you want to highlight, please go ahead and do so now. But
Yeah, I think the only thing that I could think of is the 2 PI calls on William Jackson. They just really seem
yeah,
like, I mean, you're a cornerback, you're a professional cornerback. You've got tight coverage, you've got an opportunity to make a play, and you're putting your hands on the guy well before the ball's even, it's not even close. You're just begging for a flag.
yeah.
Like, what are you doing? How could you not know that that's the wrong thing to do? And so I don't know, that those are the moments that stick out at me. I think as far as Kikot's moments, the fact that
I'll give you a runner
those
up.
2 PI calls.
I'll give you a runner up. That 2 minute situation that we ran going into the half. What the
Well, we
hell?
ran the clock out.
What the
We ran
hell
the
is going
clock
on
out
here? We have two timeouts, a minute 4 seconds left on the board,
because they
and
have no confidence.
we're running. It's like the Daniel Jones quarterback sneak that they punted off of last year. It's like we're running the clock out so that they can't get the ball back if we score a field goal. And it's like, how about we go for 7?
Because at that moment, and I don't know, you can argue what's right or wrong. They're not wrong. The coaches aren't wrong. At that moment, they have no confidence in the ability to drop Carson back and for him to get the ball
But
downfield
Pop,
against that
you know
team.
what we did? You know how that drive ended?
Um,
We dropped Carson back deep, and he threw a bomb to Jahan Dotson, which was picked off by Trayvon Diggs in one-on-one
Yeah,
coverage.
but
So, I
that was
mean,
like a punt at that
what are
point.
we yeah, it was like a punt at that point. Of course, we ran out enough clock, but it's like, it's gonna happen. What are we even
Yeah, you're
wasting our
right.
energy on, you know? Like,
You can't play football like
you
that.
gotta play to win,
You're
and
right.
at that point, if you get down the field and you get a field goal
Yeah.
or, a touchdown. I know it's an insane thing to conceptualize that we get a touchdown, but you get down the field and you get a touchdown, you're looking at 14-15 going into the half, 10-15 going into the half. You feel, and we talk about momentum, you get a little bit more momentum. You got down the field, you scored. So that's another kick out to the game for me.
But I think it's just I think they just didn't have any confidence in his ability. So they were in that tweener mode of, do we just run the clock out and we get the ball in the second half, or and then at the end, yeah, they check it down there, ends up being like a punt. But there's no confidence in any of those plays,
they are
showing. So
they are completely running by the seat of their pants over there, because the juxtaposition of that and then going for it on 4th and 15 is just like, it just shows me there's no foresight, there's no there's no plan. They're just free balling it.
no. Well,
So
I think they actually have a quarterback that they they don't know what to do with. They don't know what to do with him, because at this point we could say run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, but you have all these weapons as receivers, right? And the reason we're insisting on running the ball is, let's face it, we don't have confidence in Carson Wentz. Now, how much of it's on the O line and him not getting protection? He's not the first quarterback that hasn't gotten great protection, and there's been other quarterbacks that have dealt with that a lot better than Carson is dealing with it. So I don't think they have any confidence in their quarterback's ability to get the job done.
yep.
I really don't. And I think that that is leading to, they're in this tweener mode of, he's got a big arm, he can make that great throw occasionally. Do we take those shots, or should we just run the ball? But then, at some point, and it looked like Dallas was taking the run away a little bit in the second half, teams are going to just say, we're not going to let you run the ball, right? And he's going to have to drop back and and execute the offense. And I'm not sure there's any confidence in his ability to do that right now.
And I don't feel bad for them.
And you can read in that whatever you want to read into that. That's conversation for another day. But at some point, if it keeps going the way it's going, we've gotten, I don't know, 3/4 of decent football out of our quarterback in 4 games. Facts are facts.
I'll be short with it. I have no faith in him. I had a bit of optimism in the delta between him and Heineke in terms of talent. And I think in terms of execution, frankly, we're in the negative right now. That's a talk for another episode, but I'll just give you a little
Yeah,
seed for that. And
it's fair.
I
It's
and
fair.
to be honest with you, I don't feel bad for Ron Rivera. I feel a little bad for Scott Turner because maybe he got vetoed. I don't feel bad for anybody else. I feel bad for Curtis Samuel and Terry
We went
McLaurin
into
and Jahan Dotson because they didn't have control over this. Ron did this. Ron wanted to hedge his career on it. Okay, you made your bed.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing, and maybe let's transition
Yeah,
after
let's
this,
finish this up.
okay? But here's the thing, just my final thoughts on this, right? Um, One, all we can do is watch from the rest of the way through, right? Because to me, there's really no point.
Yep.
It is what it is, and how anyone can draw any positives from this at this point, yeah, there are individuals you could say have played well. There were things, good things about today. We did two of the keys. We ran the ball well. We didn't stick with the run, and we stopped the run, right? So if two things that you would think would have put us in a better position. But I'll just say this: you went into last season, when you look back on it, the absurd notion that Ryan Fitzpatrick was your solution at quarterback, right? I mean, crazy. And then this season, you went in with Carson Wentz, who, as much as we wanted to all be deniers and say, Philadelphia is stupid, Indianapolis is stupid, they just don't know what they're doing. He got cut by or traded or cut by two teams, right? That didn't want him. Traded, I guess, officially, but essentially let go by two teams that didn't want him. And we thought that we were the perfect place, given our record and our history for these reclamation projects, to get them where they needed to be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absurd, and maybe it was the best option we had, but it just, and it's got to play itself out. We'll see. I'm not going to draw any conclusions yet until the season plays itself out. But and maybe they'll figure it out. I don't know. But it's not good right now.
I mean, just a quick amendment. He would have been cut by Indy. There were several reports saying that he was traded to us because we gave them something, and we had to give them something to lock something up. And that's because we decided Ryan Fitzpatrick was going to be our quarterback last year. Let's move on from this. We will have plenty of time to do a deep dive on the failures.
Maybe we could just replay this pod after
we will have. I've been, our loyal listeners, I've been copy pasting the description because nothing has changed off the loss. So I've just been copy pasting, and I made a joke about it in the last description about how I would love to stop copy pasting this description, but I'm going to do it again because we're copy pasting our game plan. So why should I do more work on this than the coaches are? Anyways, let's get into around the NFL. I gave you a game today, Pop. I gave you a game today. Jacksonville, they let me down. Philly is going to win the Super Bowl at this point. But Jacksonville let me down.
Yeah, they started off hot, but Philly came back strong, huh?
Yep.
So, Pop went from 0-5 to 3-5 and bada bets 3-0 this week. Yep.
So Pop,
you're doing well too. 2-1.
2-1. I got the let's see. I got the tonight we have the Chiefs versus Bucks, which we both took the Chiefs, and then Monday night we have the Rams versus the Niners. So I'm hedging my career on Jimmy G here, so that feels about as good as hedging my football team on Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I had the Rams.
But so we'll see how that goes. I'm excited about that. Quick fantasy check-in. How you looking, Pop? You looking all right? Or
good?
Yeah.
Good. I mean, I'm not having the greatest of days, but unfortunately, my opponent is not having the best of days. So that looks pretty promising at this point. It's not over yet, but got a pretty strong lead. Got good days out of Lamar. It was a rough day for the Ravens, but Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Tyreek Hill, Paul, they basically are carrying my team. Those three guys. Looks like I'm going to get a W again. So put me at 3-1. Pretty happy about that.
Yeah, I'm not looking. I think I'll be 3-1, but things are not looking too hot for me. In the family league, things are looking pretty rough. Things are looking even rougher in my other league with my buddies from high school. It's just for some reason, I'm still projected to finish with 117 points in the family league. Russ Wilson kind of got right today. 237 yards, 3 total touchdowns. So that helps. I don't know if did the Broncos lose still? I can't remember, but
yeah, they lost to the Raiders.
Yeah, so the Raiders got their first win.
32-23.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm looking good in that league in terms of like talent, but I just can't seem to get the right guys in the lineup on any given week. So that's great. Coaching sucks there. And my CBS league is not looking too hot. I think. Oh, I'm up. Me and my Uncle Moss are in a barn burner here. It's 63-54. So we're absolutely just two bad teams just deciding who's going to be worse this week.
Two bad days.
But it looks like I'm going to squeeze by on this one. So we'll see though. We'll see. I was looking at one point today. I was looking like a complete nuclear day. It was looking like 0-4, but I think at least I'm squeezing out one win, so that's good. But yeah, otherwise, not too much to say. Looking forward to Tennessee next week. That should be interesting. I think that it is a pretty mediocre football team, but I don't know how we're going to stop Derrick Henry. So, I mean, you have him in your fantasy lineup at least, so that's exciting for you. I wouldn't take him out.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't done the last 2 weeks a very good job against the run. I do think this team, if they do one thing well, it's been stopping the
Yeah,
run. You know, he's a whole nother challenge, but I think defensively we match up really well against them.
I'd
Right?
hope. Yeah,
But I don't. There's no reason to feel confident.
yeah. I'm with you. I don't feel great going into that, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah,
Talk about that on Tuesday. You guys will hear about it Wednesday morning.
yeah. And we'll do a full Bada Bets recap then on Tuesday as well, or Thursday when the pod actually comes
Yeah,
out.
so it pretty much just comes down to Jimmy G, and if he can get the boys over the hump, or they don't even have to get over the hump. We just need to, cover. So we'll see how that goes. Although they are -2.5, so I guess they do have to win. That was a
Yeah, I mean,
bad bet on my
we
end, but
got so we both picked the Ravens, which they did
yeah,
cover, which actually was pretty fortunate because the Bills could have easily scored a touchdown to make it
yeah,
27-20, but Ravens stopped them and made them kick a field goal. So that one allowed them to cover for us, and we both had the Bengals over the Dolphins, which worked out. Pretty scary moment
yeah,
there.
yeah,
But yeah, and then I had the Eagles, you had the Jaguars. So, but still a pretty good week for both of us so far.
yeah.
See how it goes. I desperately needed those 3 wins. That's
Yeah,
for
you
sure.
needed it. So you're what, 3-5 on the year as of right now?
3-5,
And then
yeah,
I was 2-3
and
last week, and I'm 2-1 now. So I'm
four.
4-4. So I'm 500. I'm dancing. I'm
Not
dancing.
bad,
Not bad so far.
not bad.
Yeah. So I mean, we're just gonna keep doing these and see how they play out. I don't know. We always say we're gonna end up.
That might be the whole podcast real soon if we keep playing like
Yeah. I
this.
mean, I said I was gonna wait till week 4 to talk about any coaching changes. I'm not gonna waste my breath.
It's week
I think you
4.
all know how I feel about this entire operation right now, and I'm gonna give it until week 6 before I decide if this. I think that week 6 Thursday night game against Chicago, I think that is going to be very telling as to just how nuclear this thing is going to go this year. So we'll
Yeah,
get into that then. But without further ado, I think we should wrap this thing up unless you have anything else you want to talk about, Pop.
let's wrap it
Tough
up.
one, guys. Yeah, so this has been the We Wish We Were Buffalo Talk podcast. Go Commanders. And I've been Dom.
This is Pop.
And thanks for another great week to our listeners. I'm going to stop saying guys because I don't want anybody on the Commanders team to think they could be associated with that. Thanks for another great week to all our listeners. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Have a good day.